Every evening, it happens so quietly you barely notice it. One moment, your yard is alive. Movement everywhere. A flash of wings at the feeder. Soft rustling in the branches. The last bird pulling food from the ground before the light disappears. And then, within minutes, it's over. The air goes still. The branches stop moving. The sound vanishes. Feels like everything just left. But they didn't. Because right now, as darkness settles in, your yard isn't empty. It's hiding something. Hidden inside dense shrubs, hollow trees, and spaces so small you'd never think to look. Those same birds are still there. Watching. Waiting. Surviving. Some of them are lowering their body temperature, slowing their heartbeat to the edge of what's possible just to make it through the night. Some are pressed together in silence, sharing warmth in spaces that shouldn't be able to hold them. And some are no longer here at all. They're above you, flying in complete darkness, crossing distances you wouldn't believe. Tonight, you're going to see what really happens when your yard goes quiet. And once you do, it will never feel empty again. Where they really go when the sun sets. When the sun begins to fall, the change doesn't happen all at once. It starts subtly. The movement slows. The distance between each sound grows longer. Birds that were once scattered across your yard begin to pull inward, as if responding to something you can't see. And then, without any clear signal, they disappear. But they're not leaving your yard. They're choosing where to survive the night. For a bird, nighttime isn't rest. It's risk. In the dark, flight is limited. Vision is reduced. Predators have the advantage. So instead of staying exposed, birds shift into something more deliberate. Take the northern cardinal. In the final hour before sunset, it stops moving openly. No more visits to the feeder. No more bright flashes across the yard. Instead, it slips quietly into the densest cover it can find. Thick hedges, tangled vines, evergreen shrubs where light barely reaches. Not for warmth, for invisibility. Because a sleeping bird that can't be seen is a bird that survives. And what's more surprising is this: once it chooses that spot, it doesn't change it often. Night after night, sometimes for weeks, even months, it returns to the exact same hidden place. A location you walk past every day without realizing something is living there, watching the world go dark from inside it. Now consider something smaller, something far more fragile. The black-capped chickadee. At first glance, it seems too small to survive a cold night at all. Weighing barely more than a few coins, it lives on a razor-thin energy margin. Every calorie matters. Every degree of heat matters. So when darkness falls, it does something extraordinary. It finds a cavity, a hollow in a tree, an abandoned woodpecker hole, a crack in bark barely large enough to fit its body. And inside that space, it prepares for something closer to shut down than sleep. Its body temperature begins to drop. Its heart rate slows. Its metabolism pulls back to the absolute minimum required to stay alive. This state, controlled, deliberate, and precise, allows it to survive temperatures that would otherwise drain its energy before morning. Without it, the night would be too expensive, too cold, too long. And that small space it hides in, it changes everything. The walls trap heat. The air becomes still. The difference between outside and inside can mean survival. So while your yard looks empty, it's anything but. It's full of birds that haven't left. They've just moved out of sight, into places designed not for comfort, but for survival. When survival becomes shared. If you imagine birds at night the same way you see them during the day, independent, territorial, constantly competing, you're missing one of the most dramatic shifts that happens after dark. Because when the temperature drops, individuality starts to matter less than survival. And survival, for some birds, is not something they face alone. Take the eastern bluebird. During the breeding season, a bluebird is intensely territorial. It defends its space, its nest, its partner. Another bird getting too close isn't tolerated. It's chased away immediately. But winter rewrites those rules completely. On cold nights, that same bluebird will enter a nest box, and it won't be alone. One bird becomes two. Two become five. Five become 10. sometimes even more. Inside a space no larger than a small container, multiple bluebirds pressed together, shoulder to shoulder, wing to wing. Birds that would never share space during the day now sit in complete stillness, touching, conserving heat. There's no conflict, no dominance, no display, just a quiet agreement. Stay close, or don't make it through the night. Each body adds a small amount of warmth. Alone, it's not enough, but together it creates a pocket of heat, a microclimate strong enough to resist the cold outside. And in that space, survival becomes a shared system. This behavior, called communal roosting, isn't limited to bluebirds. The Carolina wren, small and non-migratory, faces the full force of winter without leaving its territory. It doesn't have the option to escape the cold, so it adapts. On harsh nights, wrens will gather in cavities, tree holes, crevices, nest boxes, sometimes stacking themselves in ways that seem physically impossible. Tiny bodies compressed into tight spaces, minimizing exposed surface area, holding on to every bit of warmth they can generate. During the day, they move independently. They defend space. They behave like individuals. But at night, they become something else, a unit. And this changes the way you should think about your yard. The nest boxes you install, the dense shrubs you grow, the trees with small cavities and rough bark. They aren't just places where birds live during the day. They're shelters, thermal refuges, hidden structures that decide on the coldest nights which birds wake up in the morning and which don't. What looks like a quiet, empty yard after sunset is actually filled with small groups of birds, pressed together in darkness, breathing slowly, sharing heat, surviving hour by hour. No movement, no sound, no sign they're even there. But inside those spaces, something critical is happening. Not competition, not territory, cooperation. And without it, many of them wouldn't last a single winter night. Sleeping with one eye open. When you think of sleep, you probably imagine complete stillness. A full shutdown, awareness gone, the world fading out until morning. For birds, that kind of sleep would be fatal. Because the night doesn't remove danger, it concentrates it. Predators move differently in the dark. Sound carries farther. Visibility drops. And for a small bird hidden in a branch or cavity, there is no second chance if something gets too close. So instead of fully switching off, birds do something far more precise. They divide their awareness. Many species enter a state known as unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, a condition where one half of the brain rests while the other remains awake. One eye closes. The other stays open, not randomly, not occasionally, continuously. Studies on birds like the mallard revealed something remarkable. When ducks rest in groups, those positioned along the outer edge keep the eye facing outward open, scanning the environment. The birds in the center, more protected, can afford to close both eyes. Awareness is shared across the group. Vigilance becomes a system, and it's constantly shifting. The side of the brain that stays awake rotates, allowing each half to rest in turns. But at no point is the bird completely unaware. There is always a part of it monitoring the world. Now bring that idea back to your yard. A black-capped chickadee inside a tree cavity isn't in deep, unconscious sleep. It's in a controlled state of partial awareness. Listening, processing, waiting, the faint crack of a twig snapping under weight. The soft scrape of claws against bark, the almost silent glide of a great horned owl moving through the trees. These sounds don't fade into the background. They trigger responses. In fractions of a second, a resting bird can shift from stillness to flight, exploding out of cover into darkness, guided by instinct and memory rather than sight. Even birds that seem heavy and slow during the day carry this hidden alertness into the night. The mourning dove, often seen sitting quietly for hours, can launch into sudden, rapid flight in complete darkness if disturbed. The sharp whistle of its wings cutting through the air isn't just a byproduct. It's a signal, a warning to others nearby that something has changed. Because information matters at night, sound becomes the primary network. Every call, every movement, every disturbance travels farther, linking birds together in ways you can't see. So when you look out into your yard at midnight, and it appears completely still, completely silent, it isn't. It's filled with birds in a state of quiet vigilance, hidden in dense branches, tucked inside cavities, pressed close to bark and leaves, half asleep, half awake, fully aware, watching the dark more closely than you ever could, and ready at any moment to move. What's flying above you right now? And then there are the birds that aren't hiding in your yard at all, because on certain nights, they're not here. They're above you, far above your roofline, beyond what your eyes can follow. The sky fills with movement that leaves no trace. No sound you can clearly hear. No shape you can easily see. But it's there. Thousands, sometimes millions of birds, moving through the darkness in a steady, invisible current. This is migration. Species like the wood thrush don't stay in one place year-round. They travel across continents, disappearing from your yard for months and then returning as if they never left. But what you don't see is how they move. They travel at night. Not because it's easier, but because it's safer. The air is calmer. Temperatures are cooler. Fewer predators are active. And above all, the sky provides something they rely on more than anything else. Guidance. Stars. Magnetic fields. Subtle environmental cues your senses can't detect. Even something as small as the ruby-throated hummingbird, fragile, weightless, can cross massive distances in a single continuous flight. No stops, no rest, just steady movement through darkness, powered by stored energy and instinct. What looks like an empty night sky is, at times, one of the most active highways on Earth. A silent passage of life moving above you while everything below appears still. And the strangest part? It's happening whether you notice it or not. Every year, every season, every night that conditions are right. So when your yard falls quiet, when the feeder's empty and the branches stop moving, it's easy to think something has ended. But nothing has ended. It has only shifted. The birds didn't disappear. They didn't leave your world. They moved into the part of their lives you were never meant to see. The next time your yard goes silent at dusk, don't mistake it for emptiness. Because in the dark, hidden in branches, tucked inside trees, and moving across the sky above you, life hasn't stopped. It's just become invisible.